Hello, I'm Justin Perkins. This is Talk Junkie. Today, we're going to talk about a quick little experiment. Numerous points in the past, go on long hiatuses from social media. I feel like it's very beneficial to me. I just miss interacting with certain people. And the fact of the matter is, the way the world is today, that's just the only way I can interact with certain people. My birthday is in August. It's almost August 1st. So what I'm looking at doing is a 22-day just hiatus. But not just that. It's 22 days, no YouTube, no social media of any kind, no news of any kind, even the sources I prefer. I can have text messaging. I can have a messenger. Any link anyone sends me, I'm not going to open. So you send me a link with articles, I'm not going to open. Any email I get with any type of link, I'm not going to open it. The only way that I will hear about any current events in that 22-day period, we'll make it 20 days. That makes more sense, and I'll start 2 days late and end it on my birthday. The only way I'll get any information in that 20-day period is by conversation. I will do my best to not discuss too many things with my wife, because you have to understand, that's the person I'm with most. Even though we may not agree on everything, we think the most alike. In terms of, well, not even think the most alike, because she knows how I think, I know how she thinks, so I know I'll word things to her differently than I would to someone else, because, I know she'll perceive this way if I say it like this. So it's just that interaction's going to be different because it's the person I'm around the most. But I'm around different people all the time at work, and I'm around different people, in everyday life, and then I'm around my family. That'll be the only. So if my wife says, "Would you hear what such and such done?" I'll have to make a decision to either go, "Okay, I want to try to discuss this with you," or just let me hear your take on what is happening. And I think that's what I may do. I may just go, "Okay, what's your take on what's happening?" And then that way, I cannot let it influence me to whatever level. I cannot let it influence me. But my only knowledge of world events for 20 days is going to be based on, predicated by what I'm told by other people. And I understand, because I do, that's going to be a mostly skewed point of view. I work around and live in an area around people who have certain leanings. And that's just fact of the matter. There's people I'm around not as often who see things differently. Many of them see them closer to how I see them. But I wonder what I'll think of the current situation with everything and the world in general at the end of those 20 days. Will, where will my head be at in regards to political views, social events, things of that nature. this is something that, as a younger person, I would have actually found scary. To go 20 days without any input of news and current events would have, to some degree, worried me at a young age. I think I put a little more faith in where I got my information at that time and the information around me. And I naively believed in a lot of things that I don't believe in any longer. So it doesn't worry me to not get that information for 20 days. I mean, unless the world ends in that 20-day period, which it could, but I mean, I would know that, I don't live under the ideal that any politician or any person is going to do anything designed to be for my best interest. That's just not how they get paid. So that doesn't worry me like it used to. I used to honestly think there's people trying to work to better us and people trying to hurt us. And I honestly feel at this point in time that it's just a bunch of people trying to hurt us. I've yet to see the group of people that's trying to better us, in all honesty. Now, during that 20 days, I can read, but it has to be, something, nothing new. I can't read any memoirs or any newspapers. Can't, nothing like that. I'm not saying I can't read anything like that. Probably, I've got Tractus Logico Philosophicus by Wittgenstein. That will probably be what I try to study and look into in that 20-day period. It won't last me the whole time. It'll be a good start. And in those 20 days, I can better myself in that way. I can read, I can write, I can do labor. I can do anything else except for take in news. And obviously, that's due to a lot of political things that are out there right now. That will not be restricted to if I want to watch a documentary on, the Kennedys or, the Bushes and the CIA, something on, I can't do that in that amount of time because even though that's older, I feel like that could influence just your train of thought. The Republicans and Democrats are constantly fighting for a position in my head for who I hate the most. And it's generally pretty equal, but occasionally I'll see something that'll really spike one over the other. So I'd like to keep that going for 20 days. And at the end of 20 days, get on here and do a podcast of this is what I heard about every day for 20 days. This is the topic that when people did bring up things to me, this is what they were talking about. This is where they were skewed. This is how they felt. This is, with that first podcast back, at least that first podcast back, I can't give in and look at other stuff. Even if I have to record it that day and put it on the back shelf until I got time to release it, when that 20 days is up, before I go in and look and go, okay, this happened and that happened, and before I find any factual information or any misleading information about what happened in those 20 days, I got to give my thoughts on what I heard in those 20 days and what people said. And I take in very little I take in no mainstream news. Let's just be honest. I take in no mainstream news. So that's not going to be a big difference. But, I'm not going to be reading the sources that I prefer and the sources that seem the most legitimate to me. So I'm not even going to have that to stand on when people are trying to discuss these things with me. But I'm also not going to see posts on Facebook that'll anger me or annoy me or make me go, okay, well, what's that about? Let me look into that. So it's not going to be a huge change in one regard, but in the other regard, it's going to be massively different because, like I said, I'm taking out my information. Imagine, if you will, if you're a CNN person or you're a Fox News person or both. I know a lot of people that are both. And you watch that every evening. I know a lot of people that watch that every evening. I know a lot of people that watch it multiple times a day. I, myself, used to listen to the news multiple times a day or watch it. Imagine taking that along with your social media away. If you've never done that, I've done it many times. Usually around elections. But I've never taken away the other factor. I've never taken away what I consider to be responsible sources. And I got an email the other day. Somebody said, recommend us some of these responsible sources. And I made a list and sent it to that person. Then I immediately followed that up with an email back to him and said, I regret that email worse than any email I've ever sent. It is not my place to endorse or represent what is a responsible news source. No one gave me those responsible news sources. No one told me what they were. I had to physically find them, look for them, research them, and I still have to constantly question, is there bias here, and to what degree and to which way? I will not give another one of those lists out. And I won't. I don't want to be the person that influences somebody else in the way that they feel about that. Because I'll tell you two things that I've learned. One, it's only unbiased to most people if it says what they agree with personally. And secondly, no matter how good your information is, and no matter how good your data is, both sides will annihilate your argument with foolishness, childishness, and dismissiveness if it is not up to par with their propaganda that they're speaking. Those are two. You cannot change someone else's mind with your opinion or with fact anymore. It's almost impossible. And it is not something that just one side is doing. It is something that both sides are doing, and they're doing at a level that is unprecedented, in my opinion, in my lifetime. Now, that's not to say that that's true. That's my opinion. It's possible. It's possible that it used to be worse and we just couldn't see it as well as we can see it now, and it's more transparent because of the internet. That's possible. And I'll tell you what, I'm willing to accept that with some proof, because that's how life's supposed to work. I would say that when President Barack Obama was in office, that the right was far, far worse about misleading people, lying about the president, and spreading disinformation, and not being willing to acknowledge what they're doing. I believe that hands down. I believe all those things to be true right now of the left while President Trump is in office. Now, don't get me wrong. Does that mean that the right is innocent right now? No. They're doing the same things that they've always done. It just seems to me whoever has the White House at the time takes a moment to breathe. I believe that Trump supporters have got less of a moment to breathe because this idiot has been tweeting ever since he got in office. And I mean, they have been defending some stuff that I don't even know how you defend. I don't know how you defend. Whoever is responsible for trying to save face and back cleanup for this guy has to be the most miserable, suicidal human being that ever walked the face of the earth and has the worst job in the history of the world. No doubt. Hands down. Having said that, during these last almost 4 years, 4 years, I guess, the Trump, the Republicans have had to do much less in way of slander than the left. But now for 8 years, Republicans had to do far more than the left in way of slander. I really think that's just a matter of who's got the office. But for 20 days, there's going to be no opportunity for me to see any of those posts or comments or statements or any of that from any side. And that part I look extremely forward to. See, I have friends that are, I would say in their words, conservative Republicans. And they do and say things that the religious right should never be associated with, but still, they would consider themselves that. And they would consider that they're being attacked, their president's being attacked, and that everything their side's saying is true. And even when the president's saying something bad and awful, it's okay because it's in contradiction to something that they view as being worse. And I have friends that are on the left, far on the left. And I feel that they would say that all those things that I just said were true for Republicans are true for them. And that they are unwilling to admit what they're doing. And neither side is. And in this 20 days, I can tell you that whoever I have access to and whoever I'm talking to, and you may want to do this with me. If you want to, let's start August 2nd and go to August 20th, and that's August 22nd. Start from August 2nd, go to August 22nd. That's our 20 days. And do this with me. Do this. Let's do this together. And you email me at the end of the 20 days. And I will wait. I will wait. How about this? You all start August 1st and go to the 20th. And I will start the 2nd and go to the 22nd. And the minute I'm done on the 22nd, I will record on the 23rd the episode. And before I'm able to be influenced. And you, the instant it's over on the 20th, send me an email. I don't care how long it is. I don't care if it's 5 pages long. Send me anything you learned from this. Because my ideal, my hope, is clears my head out some. Out of this, I get to do a little fun thing, that's fun for me. And I get a podcast episode out of it. But my hope is it cleans that out. But I know that it's going to allow me to more clearly see the bias in a lot of people I know personally. And the reason I know that is because I've done this numerous times. Not in this manner to where I purposely done it this way, or to where I took out any knowledge of a situation. Because a day or so ago I did an episode about the new video that's out from these, quote, frontline doctors and find, I've recently found some information on the sites that I use on that. But if I hadn't, and it was hard, don't get me wrong, it was really, really hard to find, and that's getting harder and harder. A source that I had used for a long time, I quit using because bias had become very apparent. I would have thought them to be a very moderate organization, and it became very apparent they had a very right-leaning stance. Very right-leaning. And I don't know if it was new ownership or what, but it was overnight, and it was very apparent. And let's take this. Snopes. Any time that Donald Trump has ever said anything, the sky is blue. Snopes has immediately had something to follow it up with. And I've always felt that Snopes was left-leaning. And I don't generally mention the name of these places, but let me say this, because I look at Snopes occasionally, and I look at it with the mindset that it's left-leaning. There's another fact-check group I look at with the idea of knowing that it's right-leaning. I kind of see where we're at in a minute. And to be honest with you, they usually jive pretty good. If I had said myself about anything regarding President Trump a year ago that Snopes was false and biased, I would have been touted as a conservative Republican who is trying to defend the president and hide the truth. There was a claim made a while back, I don't know if it's a month, how long back it was, that African Americans were being hung, lynched, not they were physically being lynched, and that it was hate crimes and the police were not investigating. That's a hard one to confirm without knowing everything about the cases. And to be honest with you, you don't know. It's possible. It could happen. I go to, there's about 3 or 4 fact-checking spots out there if you really want to go. And some of them are questionable, some of them are not, some of them seem reliable. But if you use them as a group, it at least gives you more of a kind of an idea of what you're looking at. First, I'll look at, say that this is false. That these deaths have been contributed to suicide in some cases. And I don't remember exact details, but one page goes so far as to break down suicides by hanging and the rate and the time frame and blah, blah, blah for African Americans and African American males, African American females, people in certain financial areas or certain areas of the country and in certain financial situations. And the number of deaths and the number of places and the amount of time is pretty well on par with these numbers. Then I go, okay, but let me look at Snopes. Because of these, 2 I feel are left-leaning, 1 possibly moderate, and the other 2 I feel are, one of which is very right-leaning, the other maybe moderate. Snopes is always generally moderate to left-leaning. Let's look at Snopes, because I know I'm not going to get a right lean from Snopes. And I've already looked at one that I feel is very left-leaning, and they came to the same conclusion these other 2 fact-checkers have. So let's look at Snopes. I look at Snopes. Snopes is false. And here's why. It's not that these people didn't pass away. It's not that it's not tragic. The point is, it's a false narrative that really only helps to increase a racial divide. Someone I know, a Caucasian, made a post, and I hardly ever at that point, especially because it's so tricky because you can't have a real conversation over Facebook. I hardly ever say much, but they posted this, about I believe it may have been 5 people, and they were killed by police. And I was like, most of the fact check sites say that this is probably not true. And someone come back, and I understood. The girl that come back was an African American girl, somebody I think very much of and have been friends with for a long time. And somebody that knows me enough to know how I really feel about things, and know that I'm not making a racist statement. But I looked at it and it said, just basically a question mark, best I can remember, not real. And, what did I mean? And I looked at it and I said, well, the way I wrote that could be misconstrued as saying this is fake. These people didn't die. And so I just posted the Snopes thing and said, it's definitely worth looking into, but, here's Snopes. And the reason I use Snopes instead of these other is because one of the people that had commented, and I'm not going to say if it's the person who made the post. Anyway, one of the people involved in this, I have seen use Snope multiple times. It's always been more skewed towards their political views so that it's been acceptable and it's been the gospel. When I use Snopes, I was a bad person suddenly. And I've noticed no interaction from some of these people because there ended up being multiple people commenting. And I feel like they don't trust my person. And I don't know what. They definitely look at me differently, or at least react to me differently than they used to as far as social media goes. But I meant nothing racist by it, and I'm not, I don't have to defend that. It is what it is. But it's important. It's important to a lot of things. It's important to not use false information to divide us racially. It's also important that a lot of people out there commit suicide. And that's a sad, horrible state to be in. And that's a darkness that a lot of people, most people, don't ever experience. And don't take the focus away from that. And especially if, and I'm not saying this because I didn't read these statistics, I don't know. But, I mean, as far as looking at the fact that these were African Americans, maybe the suicide rate for whatever demographic this is representing is higher in the African American population. Don't take focus from that to put on police brutality when they're not linked. Because trust me, the police have done enough bad on their own that there's enough case study out there for it. That this doesn't need to be, but it's propaganda and it's misinformation. And, if it comes out to be true tomorrow, that's fine. Then let's report it as fact at that point. But if we're being honest, for all intents and purposes, there's nothing proven right now that it's fact. And that's blew away and went away now. And probably the statistics have come out on that, or the evidence has come out, and it's become apparent that it was suicide. But there's been lynchings, modern lynchings. It's happened. And to me, it's disrespectful to those people to try to, I don't know. But for 20 days, I won't have those fact-checking websites, and I won't have my news sources, and I won't have the mainstream sources, which I do dabble in. Don't get me wrong. Every once in a while, when something big happens, I like to see the story. I like to see how they're spinning it. I do. I like to see what twist Fox is putting on it. I like to see what twist CNN's putting on it. Occasionally, my stomach's strong enough to see what MSNBC's got to say. It's not often, but occasionally. It's important to get those. But for 20 days, I'll have no input. The only input I'll have for 20 days is what others say around me. And again, I wish it was more diverse in the area I was in, because I know for 20 days what I'm going to get. I'm sorry. I know for 20 days the point of view that's going to be most prevalent around me. Now, I've got, again, my wife and a friend that I talk to quite extensively. She's not going to have that same point of view. I feel she's fairly moderate, to be honest with you, and very fair. I have another friend that's kind of to the left, and I know she wouldn't have that. But these are people I don't talk to those two people every day. I may via message, but not in person. And in person conveys a different emotion and allows for different conversation. So, let's see. Let's see what happens in 20 days. Let's see where I'm at, and let's see how I feel. So I'm going to give you two options. If you want to do this with me, and you want me to really discuss in depth, kind of what, how it felt for you, pick your time frame. Whether it be 18 days, 20 days, whether it be do it for a week, do it for 5 days. Pick your time frame though. Between August 1st and August 22nd. Pick your time frame. You really got to do it for more than 2 or 3 days. I would recommend 7 as a minimum. But get your time frame. Do the same thing. Send me an email. What it looked like to you. That way, before hearing me and skewing your input on it, maybe you can, and also, I won't read those emails until, in the whatever it's called, in the information about the email when you're putting it. What is that called? The subject. Thank you. In the subject line, just put 20-day experiment. Even if you don't do 20, put 20-day experiment. And I won't read those until the day of recording, or the day after recording maybe. But I'll have those pre-second podcast, and then you'll get the second podcast without interference. See what I mean? It makes it that way. So the email is talkjunkie@gmail.com. If you people keep responding like you have been, I may not be able to get to everybody. I'll do the best I can do. If we have to do multiple episodes, we may do multiple episodes. I'll do the best I can do. I'm tickled to death you're emailing, but I'm just one man, and I'm lazy. It is what it is. But let's get started. And again, I will start August 2nd and go through August 22nd. Don't ask why. I don't need a reason. That's just 20 days. It ends on my birthday, and it's fun, and I get to do it. And I'm probably going to be off social media for a long time the closer we get to November. So, it's something for me to do. So, do this with me, and let's get our emails and stuff in. The book, Creating the Perfect Slaves. It is available at the Red Spot in Newton, Hazard, Kentucky, and only at the Red Spot in Newton, Hazard, Kentucky until August 1st. After that, it's available on Amazon. It will be available for Amazon Prime free shipping and all that good jive, but I would prefer 10 to 1 that you get it at the Red Spot in Newton. I mean, that's just me. Let's give you a couple out of the book. Give you a couple quick poems, something maybe somewhat in correlation to what we were talking about. The first one's called Raised by Media. Shorter now is the mental leash that holds back the child. Sedate the young, keep them relaxed and their tempers mild. Replace their heroes with zombies who speak in half-truths. Paint the brave as thoughtless goofs. Filter out those things that may spark a revolution. Breed out those independent minds with a new evolution. Hold down the free spirit until it has no energy to speak. Use the search engines to control what they seek. Devalue love and hope while you invest in fear. Use louder voices to control what they hear. Slaves will not think if they don't have the chance. Controlling the youth is a delicate dance. You must get them to stand against all that free peoples hold dear. Never let the muddy waters start to clear. No longer are we to raise children or let them grow. From now on, they determine what the child will know. Got another one called Zombies, maybe in that same vein. I may have read this one before. I don't know. I used to have a YouTube video for it. Zombies. Game shows and ED commercials reflecting in their dull, glazed eyes. slack jaws drooling as they give in to the idiot box before them. An endless parade of sex, violence, and consumerism to feed the rotting wretches. They laugh at the mindless and long for the unobtainable. New pills for new illnesses, new cars, new clothes, new shoes for the new you, new smartphone, new smart TV, and new smart watches. All these smart devices mass-produced for the dumb masses. Political factions program 24-hour news cycle slave makers. Pick any 3 letters and find a network to tell you what to believe. Zombies. No way to kill the new batch, for there are no brains to attack. No way to stop the new plague, for it is upon you now. There is no cure for a disease and a destiny that are chosen. There is no movie. This is no movie. There will be no third act, no great hero to save you all. The masses glued to TVs and phones, hooked to their smart devices, being trained, molded, and shaped into fear machines. Made new and designed an image desired by the programmers. Zombies. Pick up the book, get it from the Red Spotted Newt. Join me on this process. Let's try this 20-day deal and see what happens. I will be doing podcasts through those 20 days. It'll just have to be over stuff that I've already researched, or stuff that I know about, or stuff that isn't really big new political like news stuff. Don't suck. Don't die. Oh yeah, I have 2 previously recorded that I'm saving up for this. So I did not do the research for those 2 during this. In case nobody watches this or listens to this one, I may throw them further down the line. I don't know. Don't suck. Don't die. Be good to other people.